The Miami Heat continue to be so impressive and so dominant as they take a 3-0 series lead against the Boston Celtics in the Eastern Conference Finals. And the way that the Miami Heat has been playing basketball this entire postseason, I'm running out of ways to describe this basketball team. Now, we look at the beginning of this run. It started in the play-in tournament, and the Miami Heat, they kind of scared all of us because we thought that they were going to beat the Atlanta Hawks quite easily in the play-in tournament, and they end up losing to the Hawks. And then they had a close fought battle with the Chicago Bulls where they came out on top and they got the 8th seed. And once the first round of the actual playoffs started, that's when the Miami Heat and Jimmy Butler, they put the rest of the teams in the playoff on notice, and they also put the NBA world on notice because they basically went in and they slayed Goliath. They slayed the giant that were the Milwaukee Bucks. I believe going into the playoffs, the Milwaukee Bucks were favored to win the championship. And I know with that series, everyone loves to bring up how Giannis Antetokounmpo was hurt. And I don't think that's fair to the Miami Heat because the Bucks are still a great basketball team. And even when Giannis went down, they were still favored to beat the Miami Heat. And it's crazy that people go to bring up Giannis being banged up. The only game that the Bucks won was when Giannis did not play, and I believe that was in Game 2. And the Milwaukee Bucks on the season without Giannis Antetokounmpo, they had a pretty good record. I believe it was 13-5. So I think that was impressive by the Miami Heat. And then they go and face the New York Knicks in round 2. And I like the Miami Heat in that lineup because I feel like they're a great defensive team, and the New York Knicks didn't have no one better than Jimmy Butler. So I thought that they were going to come out and win that series, and I think they won it pretty convincingly. They were up 3-1 at one point, and then they closed the deal in 6 games. So I thought they were really impressive against the New York Knicks. And then we get to round 3. Now, round 3, I must be honest with you guys. I didn't think the Miami Heat were severe underdogs. I thought it was going to be more of a dogfight like what we saw last season in Eastern Conference Finals. I thought it was going to go back and forth, but what the Miami Heat have come out and done this series, going up 3-0 against the Boston Celtics, who I believe is probably the deepest team in the NBA talent-wise. They have so many guys that can do so many different things on both the offensive and the defensive side of the ball, so I think it's really crazy that we're seeing the Miami Heat up 3-0 against these guys right now. So today we're going to talk about how we got here, how the Miami Heat are just dominating this series, and I think we must start off by talking about the role players on this team because they have been exceptional. And before we talk about how these role players perform individually, I want to give credit to the Miami Heat as a whole and as an offense, because what they're doing so far offensively has been very impressive in the playoffs. And we all know the Miami Heat, Jimmy Butler, Bam Adebayo, Coach Eric Spoelstra, and all those Rough Riders, they're going to be locked in on the defensive side of the ball, and they're going to be very hard to score on in the half court. But coming into the playoffs, one thing that the Miami Heat were criticized for was their lack of three-point shooting. They were one of the worst three-point shooting teams all season long, but as soon as the postseason started, it was like a switch has flipped for these guys. And we got to give coach to Jimmy Butler for attracting so much attention, getting guys open looks, Eric Spoelstra calling the right plays to get guys open looks, and then the shooters on this team, they have just found their stroke at the perfect time. And you look at this series against the Boston Celtics, one of the best three-point shooting teams in all of the NBA, and they've also had the first 2 games on their home court. The Miami Heat, through 3 games, they're hitting at least 6 more threes than the Boston Celtics, and then last night at home, they put on a crazy shooting clinic, hitting 19 threes. So I want to give credit to them for locking in offensively, and now we can get into these role players, and I feel like it's only right if I start with Caleb Martin. Now, Caleb Martin has been nothing short of spectacular in round 3 of the Eastern Conference playoffs. So far, he has been playing out of his mind. Off the bench, he's averaging 19 points, and what's so impressive is that he's been crazy efficient. He's shooting the 3-ball well, and overall from the field, he's shooting 63%. And I believe so far in this series, Caleb Martin, he's been the X factor. We look at what he did in Game 1. He poured in 15 points. Whenever you can get get 15 points from one of your role players off the bench, that's a great sign. And then in game 2, I feel like he kept the Miami Heat in the ball game. He scored 25 points, and he was really getting it done from everywhere on the court. The three-point shot was falling, his mid-range was falling, and he was getting to the rim. And it was really impressing me because I feel like through this postseason, he's getting better and more confident in his offensive game. We're starting to see him put the ball on the floor more, pull up for those mid-range shots, and then he's taking contact or he's doing acrobatic finishes at the rim. So Caleb Martin offensively, he's been very important in the playoffs, and I think what he did in game 2, it kept the Miami Heat alive. And then we all saw what happened between Grant Williams and Jimmy Butler. Grant Williams, he hit a 3 and he started talking, and then that awoken Jimmy Butler's inner Michael Jordan. What he did after that was truly special, and I just love moments like that in basketball because, I feel like, we're getting, I'm super young, so I'm getting to witness some of the best playoff moments live like that I'll be telling my children and my grandchildren about. So that was a really cool moment to witness, and I just don't think they wouldn't have been in that position if it wasn't for Caleb Martin holding it down. And then Jimmy Butler, he does what Jimmy Butler does in the fourth quarter, and they closed them out in game 2. And then in game 3, Caleb Martin comes off the bench. He's still being efficient, still hitting three-point shots, and in game 3, he poured in 18 points off the bench. So his offensive game has been unreal in this series, and then also he's still bringing it on the defensive side of the ball. He's a two-way player. He'll pick up the point guard full court if you have to, and then if you need him to front the center, he will also do that. So he has no problem getting his hands dirty with 1 through 5. So I love what Caleb Martin has been able to do in this series for the Miami Heat. Another guy I want to look at for the Miami Heat is Gabe Vincent, and I feel like he has been fantastic in this series. Game 1, he goes 3 of 5 from the three-point line and pours in 15 points. Game 2 was a little bit more quiet, 9 points, 1 of 4 from the three-point line. But Game 3, Gabe Vincent, he came out and he put his team on his back, and he had a hell of a night. He went out and dropped 29 points while hitting 6 3-pointers, and he went 6 of 9 from the 3. So really for majority of this series, he has been incredibly efficient from the three-point line, and I just think it's really special to see a player like Gabe Vincent with the confidence that he has, because when you watch him play, he has a real swagger to his game, and you can tell with every shot and every pass that he makes, he's very confident in the decisions that he's making. And I have to give huge credit to Gabe Vincent for believing in himself like that, but I also have to give credit to the Miami Heat as an organization, from the GM to Coach Eric Spoelstra to Pat Riley, and then also his teammates. I feel like when you have confidence like that, and this is just, I'm saying this because Gabe Vincent, he's not like he's not an all-star, he's not a superstar player, but he has the confidence of one. And I feel like everyone around you has to believe in you, and you have to believe in yourself. So I give huge props to Gabe Vincent and the Miami Heat as an organization, because I think that's pretty special. And also with his performance last night, the way he played, shooting Boston out of the gym, and it wasn't just him, it was his teammates as well. But shooting those guys out of the gym, it really allowed for Jimmy Butler, Bam Adebayo, Kevin Love didn't have to return with his ankle injury, because the Miami Heat were really in control for about 80-90% of this basketball game. So if you're the Miami Heat and you go up 3-0, and in the game 3, Jimmy Butler only has to play 30 minutes, Bam Adebayo only has to play 30 minutes, neither one of those guys got in for the fourth quarter. Little things like that matter a lot, and usually when a team goes down 2-0 like that, especially the team that is favored, the game 3 is usually a dogfight. But that was not the case last night, as the Miami Heat, they came out and they took care of business. So I feel like the role players in this series has been, or really throughout the entire playoffs, has been truly special. But what Caleb Martin and Gabe Vincent has done this series has really been impressive to me. And then Duncan Robinson, really good to see that he's found his stroke again. Max Strus, he does all the little things and still knocks down timely 3-point shots. And then you have all of these guys playing their roles to the highest level that they can around Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo. Again, Bam still impressing me with his aggressiveness, and I feel like the competition that he's seen has not been easy. Like Bam Adebayo, he plays the center position and he's very vertical, but he's still only 6'8", and I feel like he's faced some big front courts. The Milwaukee Bucks have Giannis and Brook Lopez, significantly taller than Bam Adebayo or significantly longer than him. He still found ways to score the basketball. The New York Knicks, they have a lot of size and strength on their front line with Mitchell Robinson and Julius Randle, Isaiah Hartenstein off the bench, and now they're against the Boston Celtics with Robert Williams and Al Horford. So I'm really impressed to see what Bam Adebayo has been able to do when it comes to figuring out ways how to score against bigger guys. And then also Jimmy Butler, can't say too much about Jimmy Buckets that you guys don't already know. He's been spectacular, and I love Jimmy because he talks a lot, but he damn sure can back it up. So when you can back it up, you can talk all you want. So the Miami Heat, like I said, running out of ways to describe this magical postseason run. But that's what I want to talk about with you guys today. That's going to be it. If you guys enjoyed, please leave a like, comment down below if you agree or disagree, and then subscribe for more weekly content. We do this all the time, man, and that's curtains.